Well, we're in Nome, Alaska, and I've been taking the salmon broadhead and laying the hammer down. I caught 37 salmon today. What's really cool is there's been some bears, some grizzly bears walking up and down the beach. Why? Because the salmon are in full swing. Here we are in late July. Out here in front of me, you can see the ocean crashing. And what's really cool is I grew up in Tillamook, Oregon. We got 7 rivers that flow in there, and they're fed by a bay. But right here, the salmon are actually crashing as the tide starts to rise right here at the end, and then they're racing up into this little corridor and going back into the lake. Now, there's lots of different species of salmon that come here in Alaska. The really amazing part is that these fish that are in this particular tributary smell in the parts per billion. And so what happens is they go up and down this coastline looking for the exact scent of the creek that they were born in. Now, there's lots of rivers and there's lots of creeks that are fed by the ocean here, but the salmon knew that this creek was the one they were born in. So they spent basically a year here in the tributary, got flushed out into the ocean, went around, ate for 2 years, and then came back again, and it's their time to spawn, reproduce, and actually die here in the river. But there's some absolute chromers. Now, over the last little while, we've had the reds, the most desired fish. Really, really red, good consistency, one of the greatest table fares, what's called the sockeye salmon. And then the chums that just came in just a few weeks ago, and the silvers are gonna show up, and then the kings have been sporadically through the course of the year here. But in just a few weeks, there's gonna be a whole bunch of silver salmon in here. But today, this is what I caught. Spectacular. The season allows you to the daily limits of 10, and right here are some great ones. Now, these are called humpy salmon or pink salmon. And if you went to Skipper's and they said a wild Alaska salmon and it was a cheap plate, most likely it is a pink salmon. It's not the #1 most prized salmon, but it really is good for table fare, and we're gonna be eating over the next few hours. Look right here, guys. This is a big buck. And one of the reasons I know that this is the beginning of the season, there are more bucks out here than there are actual hens. The bucks always show up first. Right here, you can see the hump on the middle of his back. That'll start to become more and more aggressive as time goes on. It's a dominance thing for the females, the same thing. They're trying to breed dominantly, and then this hook will start to create as he spends more and more time actually in the water. Now, these fish in particular, this species, are sexually mature. They don't have to go very far between the time that they're actually out in the ocean and then they come in here and they spawn, and that means that they're going to change color really, really quickly. In fact, the more time that they spend in here, the more they use that nutrients and everything in their body in order for them to feed themselves, because they stop eating once they get back into the river here. But man, what an amazing day out here in Alaska. The last thing I'd like to show you is the sea lice. You can see right here. Right here on the end of the tail, they really congregate. You can tell the difference between the male and the female sea lice depending on the tails of them. Right there, one has a long tail, one doesn't. But man, look at all of these salmon right here. Man, Nome, Alaska, there's no place on home like Nome. Right here, guys, there is no trash. There's nothing but salmon and birds and bears running around, and the Western Extreme guy with a rod and a reel with a smile on my face, because this is spectacular wild Alaska, the wild frontier.